Hey fam, welcome to the Deep Mirror readings. So these readings will address what was the old mirror, what does the inner child really want, what's the current inner challenge in order to shift, what's the current outer challenge to overcome that's reflecting that inner process, what's the potential outcome if you don't shift, what's the potential outcome if you do shift. What's the guidance spirit has in your highest good to help you shift into the new mirror? And what does that new mirror look like, right? This secret code name is Miracle Crystal. And I thought it was super interesting because I heard the words miracle crystal, which immediately had me think of moldavite. But then spirit showed me what looked like the tesseract from the Marvel universe. The tesseract is a version of the cosmic cube, and it contains immense energy and is capable of opening portals across space and dimension, and ends up becoming one of the infinity stones. It's a space stone. And I thought it was interesting because when spirit showed it to me, it was the tesseract, but it wasn't like that light blue color like in in Marvel universe. It was like this deep indigo color, and it had like this white dwarf star like radiating and pulsating from the center of it. And as I was clearing out the deck and I was shuffling out, every little thing you do is magic deck, I was getting this draw to a combination of like lapis lazuli and sugilite as crystals. And I was being drawn to the star Sirius and the 3 stars that make up Orion's belt. So I don't know if you've got a deep dive into some galactic federation kind of energy, or just deep dive into the history of those particular stars or what they mean. I know that Sirius is in the constellation Cancer, and then Orion is, I believe, somewhere in between like Taurus and Gemini. So you might have to look into your own astrology and kind of see what plays a role inside those houses, especially because we do have Jupiter in Cancer as of right now in real time, and we have Uranus and Sedna retrograding in Gemini heading back towards Taurus. So it's right around that kind of cuspy energy there. You might want to check it out. Okay, you might want to check it out. You might be getting a whole lot of downloads and revelation and spiritual sight into other dimensions of energy. You might even be having a new intuitive gift coming online that kind of gives you this ability to see into other energy planes outside of this very 3D reality. So see what kind of messages you connect with if you were drawn to the secret code name and deep dive into it. All right. So let's see what we are working with. Secret code name Miracle Crystal. Okay, we got a lot here. I must have been holding this deck in reverse when I did the shuffle, which is divine because anything that would have came out reverse is upright. So we're dealing with that. Okay. Okay. We got a lot going on. All right. So secret code name, Miracle Crystal. The old mirror is Judge. Hey, Kristen, how you doing? I know, I love my Vajra. It was called these reads today. The Judge. So the shadow was offering only destructive criticism, misusing business, legal, or criminal authority. In other words, the old mirror, right, the shadow, and it may be something that you learned, and it's obviously something you're coming out of, right? Because the light is balancing justice and compassion, managing the fair distribution of power. So maybe before, right, in the old mirror, you would give only destructive criticism or harsh criticism from a place of feeling or wanting to feel spiritually superior, in that looking at other people and their imperfections and being able to advise them with criticism gave you a sense of feeling like maybe your wounds are not as bad because their wounds are this and you know how to fix their wounds. So, you're superior to them in some way, right? Or more honorable in some way, or the criticism may have come off more harsh, where now you're balancing it with a sense of compassion, right? And managing that fair distribution of power, meaning you are in your own power, but you're not diminishing theirs in order to enhance yours. If that makes sense. Where you used to be a guide that was leaving people feeling judged, like they should judge themselves, you're not doing that anymore. You're giving them a space where you can offer them your opinion on where they're at, right, wrong, or indifferent, but you're allowing them to hold a space of their own power where they're not constantly seeking you out for your judgment of them, but giving them room to kind of evaluate themselves and figure out what they need to do, as opposed to telling them what they need to do, right? Holding space for them to figure out what they need versus telling them. And I think that that's a really good shift, because we're all guilty of it when we're in our wounds, where we, always see the best advice for other people, but we're not always the best at giving it. We don't always realize how what we say sometimes comes off kind of cold or cutting just because it's true. And we take away their ability to figure it out, which leaves them in kind of a codependent or needing to rely on you to help them see themselves kind of space. But it's a powerless space, because if they can't even see it without you, how could they fix it without you? And that puts them in a position where they're leaning heavily on your energy, and they're not able to fix it because they don't even believe in their own strength in order to fix it. So it kind of ends up being this detrimental double-edged sword where the truth is there, but they can't do anything with it. And in the meantime, you're carrying their energy, and it can get heavy. So now it's like, the truth and you see the truth, but you're allowing them the space to find it. You're not taking their power away and making them feel like they need you to figure it out. And it takes a huge weight off of you, energetically speaking. And it takes the failure, right, the potential failure off of you both. because you believe in their strength. That's why you're allowing them this room and space to figure it out. So what does your inner child really want? Grounding, nature, presence, practicality, and stability. Everything needs to make sense. Everything needs to feel that sense of calm, that sense of roots, that sense of foundation. Your inner child wants things that are structurally sound. And that's reflecting with the light, right? The light of the old mirror that you're coming out of, where you want really stable, really grounded, rooted realities and relationships with other people. And so you're allowing them to get their footing because it allows you to also keep your footing. You know, if you were to think of a tree, if it were to have a house sitting on top of it, it would make the tree really unstable. It would want to break. You know, it's a weight that's not meant to be there. And when you allow someone else to just simply be a tree beside you, as opposed to the house that's on top of you, it really does allow things to just flow much, much easier. It does create stability because you're not dealing with energy in yourself or other people that is constantly at risk of breaking. It's constantly under pressure to do or be something that is not natural. You know, it allows for this sense of safety because it's not going to break. And knowing that that's what your inner child really wants, that sense of safety and dynamic and life with the root chakra, right? Your ability to manifest in what you see and not knowingly or unknowingly be a detriment to it, right? So what's the current challenge in order to shift? It says sometimes self-love includes full consideration of those who love you. And by sometimes, I mean all the time, right? Invest. Who or what are you making excuses for and why? If you don't be honest with yourself about them, you'll become them. Detach, right? Commit to not being abandoned and detach. Love those who love you. Put your focus there, right? That's the challenge to the inner child. When you're in consideration of yourself, but not truly in consideration of them, even if we think it's that way sometimes, right? Because the judge might think that they're considering someone else and that they love them because they're giving them this criticism. But it is a misuse of the authority that you hold in their life, right? The presence that you have. And so sometimes if someone is struggling, allowing them that space to not make excuses for them, you know, to just detach. Because if you're not honest with yourself, then you end up needing someone to lean on. You know what I mean? Like when someone else is leaning on you so heavy that you can't manage your own energy, you end up leaning on other people and they end up having you being the house on top of their tree. So it kind of ripples in that way. And I feel like if you just focus on the energy that you want to focus on and allow yourself to be present and hold compassion, but to also be fair and just to the energy at hand, which isn't just, you know, being fair to your energy and your process, but fair to their energy and their process, it really does allow for stronger roots. So the current challenge, right, is really just making sure that you're focusing on the energies that need you truly in your everyday life, especially with the root chakra, right? It's everyday life, your reality, and not make excuses for other people, to allow them space to figure it out and come to terms with where they're at. Because the more you detach from them, the more time and space they have to figure it out, to just let them kind of be, to be present, but not necessarily to criticize, you know, but to hold compassion in a sense of what is fair in the distribution of power, right? Where they're not siphoning off your energy and you're not diminishing theirs, right? So, what's the current outer challenge to overcome what's reflecting that inner process? We've got quite a bit. So we have the Nine of Cups, the King of Wands, the Four of Wands, the Four of Cups, the Eight of Wands, and the Knight of Swords in reverse, followed by the Three of Swords upright, the Six of Cups and the Eight of Cups in reverse, and the Ten of Cups upright. The challenge reflecting this process. The Nine of Cups reversed with the King of Wands reversed, with the Four of Wands reversed, and the Four of Cups reversed. It's almost like feeling like you don't see or feel what you wish to see or feel, because you don't actually have connection to the high vision. The process of the vision and the commitment to spirit, right? Thinking that it's all on you to fix it and make the wish happen. Where a lot of the times it's just spirit's vision, right? And allowing spirit to hold space and manage what's above your pay grade with other people. We end up having to release third-party energy that we were overflowing into because we weren't seeing what needed to be seen, and we weren't listening to the intuition that was telling us to just pull back, give them space, right? Where before maybe you would continuously seek it out to try and help because you were feeling their energy and you wanted to help, you wanted to converse, you wanted to dig with them, you wanted to be a crucial part of the process. And spirit's like, that's not needed though. And you're getting these pings to just leave them be, right? And yet you would potentially override that, right? Override that need to just let it be and try, right? Quote unquote, try harder. The Knight of Swords in the reverse is when it starts to come out wrong, right? Because whenever we're not guided to a communication or not guided to a conversation and we're forcing it because we feel we have to, right? To be that judge, to offer the criticism or the advice, to misuse that authority of your presence, it ends up coming out wrong and causes a great deal of pain, right? That Three of Swords ended up coming out in the upright. And then you don't know what to do because the soulmate, you know, the connection is wounded. These deep past life soulmates with the Six of Cups is wounded and they can't necessarily go anywhere because they're dependent on you, right? The Eight of Cups reversed. Trying to get the Ten of Cups. So it's kind of exactly what we were talking about, right? It's kind of exactly what we were talking about. I feel that the challenge is going to be having certain soulmates in your reality and feeling their energy and reminding yourself that you don't need to play God. You don't need to help them heal. That God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it, is there for them inside their own psyches and their own inner spaces, in their own world, and they got it, right? Spirit's got it. All you need to do is trust when you do get that ping to detach and give them space, to let them have their space. Because what's going to happen is if they're used to you feeling their energy and you coming forward and initiating and prompting and criticizing or guiding or advising in some way, and that's what they're used to, they're going to make their energy very known. especially when it's not good. They're going to try and tempt you into the fold to help them, when really what they need to do is help themselves, right? They need to connect with spirit. They need to connect with their own energy, and maybe separate themselves and keep to themselves and go through the inner process, right? Like a hermit's path, where they need to just be in their own meditative state and focus on where they're at and what they need to do in order to feel better, instead of distracting themselves getting it from you, right? Because it's not fair to them what they're doing. They just don't realize it. They just don't know what to do with themselves because they're wounded, and they don't know what to do with themselves. And you have the answer, right? Secret code name Miracle Crystal. Like, you have the answer. You're going to fix it. You're the miracle cure. And that's not the way it works, right? That's not the way it works. You're being pulled into a different time, space, dimension of energy and sharing it with them on a very 3D reality. If your energy is in another time, space, dimension on a higher vibration, and you choose not to go down into their energy, they have to rise into your energy to interact with you, to hold your focus. They have to be in a better energy and get onto your vibration, into your time, space, dimension, in order to interact with you. And that is how you create the stability that you're looking for, by being it first and allowing people to meet you there. And if people are insisting on that pull, right, of your energy to pull you into their lower vibration when you are not guided because you're doing other things, you're focused on other energy, whether it's sitting with someone in that positive energy and watching a show, or sitting with your pets, or being outside, or running errands, like, you're in your own vibration. And if you're not guided to have them be a part of that, your energy is going to be compassionate, but fair. Like, this is what I'm doing right now, and I love you and I appreciate you, and you could do this with me, but we're going to enjoy it. Like, we're enjoying doing this right now. And if you're not in the energy to sit and enjoy it, then maybe you can find somewhere else to be, or do something else that helps you improve your own energy, so that you're not hanging around and bringing down the rest of the energy in the room. Because I do feel like it is a shared energy space in the 3D, but that the vibrations in that 3D space are not the same. And so it really is about setting really healthy boundaries with yourself and this other person or other people. Okay. So what is the potential outcome if you don't shift? We got the Hanged Man. We got the Hanged Man, a spiritual stagnation. You will end up in these cycles, where you're being leaned heavily upon, and end up leaning heavily on other people to support your energy, because you're supporting energy that you're not meant to support in the way that you're meant to support it, right? You end up stagnating, spiritual stagnation, and feeling like nobody can get you out of it, when nobody can get you out of it, because you're the one that's creating it, and you're the one that has to get yourself out of it, right? When you're in alignment, if you do shift, right, the potential outcome, if you do shift, we have the Sky Father. We have the Emperor, which is so crazy, because when I got that visual, that's the colors and the star that it looked like. That's exactly what it looked like. Those colors and that star, that like white dwarf, like radiating star. You're in this energy, right? This Emperor energy. It's high masculine energy. It is doing as you're guided. Yin comes before yang. The guidance comes first and the action comes after. We do as we're guided. Being in the Emperor energy is allowing yourself to hold those healthy boundaries. This is what I am willing to do. This is what I am not willing to do. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I am not going to do. And being really clear on it. because when you're inside that beautiful emperor space, everything starts clicking into place. People will either vibe out or that they will rise to meet you there. They will rise to meet you there because they can't pull on your lower vibrations. You know, they say that the demons are shadows of other people attached to our own shadows. But if you're in that high masculine energy and you're doing as you're guided, there is no shadow for them to attach to. They can have all the shadows they want, but they can't attach to you because there's no shadow for them to attach to. You're no longer offering destructive, quote unquote, destructive criticism because it's not guided. You weren't guided to give it. You felt forced or obligated to give it because their energy was like the elephant in the room and you wanted to address it. Where spirit's like, let the elephant be in the room. Just let the elephant in the room be. The elephant in the room's not hurting you. So don't hurt the elephant. It's just an elephant in the room. Let it be, right? If you're guided to be kind to the elephant in the room, then you're guided to be kind. If they don't want to take you up on it, they don't want to take you up on it. Good, let them be then. Their energy is not on the same vibration of yours. You're in the same plane, the same 3D plane, but you're in a different vibrational, dimensional space. And that's important. So what is the guidance, right, the spirit has in your highest good to help you shift into the new mirror? And we are going to get into what the new mirror actually looks like with the tarot after this. All right, so we've got Tribe of the Kindred and Creatrix, cards 10 and 18. It says, I carry your heart. I carry it in mine. I carry your heart. I carry it in mine. Card number 10. Tribe of the Kindred. It says, there's a place where you belong. Maybe you've found it, or maybe you are still looking. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to find it. What matters is that you believe you deserve a real home for your beautiful heart, and that you don't give up until you're there. Sometimes that means leaving what you once hoped would be your home, perhaps more than once, until you find it in the truest, most meaningful and enduring way. The quest for intimate, soul-deep belonging begins with you, with learning to love and care for yourself and to feel at home within your being. When your heart is ready and divine timing is right, you will attract and increase your soul tribe. Maybe one person at first, then another, then another. Trust in the higher purpose of divine timing. Sometimes delays or breaking away from past connections are how we find out more of who we are and what we need. Trust that you are worthy of love and that you know how to love. Make peace with the past. All of your experiences have helped you know yourself and become wiser. Remember that your tribe is looking for you, just as you are looking for them, and will love you just as you love them. Be at peace, beautiful soul. For your soul tribe, your spiritual family, are part of your divine destiny, and you are a part of theirs. It says you can place one hand on your heart and say the following out loud. I call upon my kindred soul tribe, my spiritual family, the true home for my heart. May we be blessed to find, recognize, and love each other at the perfect moment in the most beautiful way. That is exactly what this energy is all about. Wow. May we be blessed to find, recognize, and love each other at the perfect moment in the most beautiful way. Connections, healing, it's not meant to be forced. It's not meant to feel like an obligation. And you're either going to play into the wounds of others or play into your own wounds or elevate out of them. And I feel for you, you're at this moment where you're truly elevating out of it. It helps you establish the kind of quote unquote home that you really deserve to have. Because otherwise, when we have these soulmates leave our lives and we don't necessarily want them to leave or vice versa, or it becomes painful, it's because Spirit's stepping in and saying, hey, you can't stay in this old mirror. Like, they'll be fine without you. And instead of having that separation actually happen, you can allow yourself to exist in two different energy planes inside the same space and allow them to meet you at your energy or choose of their own accord to go because they don't like being on the other side of the veil, right? They can rise up to meet your energy anytime they want. The veil itself is an illusion. They feel like they're not a part of it because their energy is somewhere else. It's not on the same vibration. You'll find that when you're in your high energy, people in lower energy around you will create their distance. And that's okay. When and where you meet is on the same energy level, your energy level, because you're not allowing yourself to go down to lower levels within yourself or for them. So really great advice card for this read. The second is Creatrix. Card number 18. It says, you have the need and the ability for creative expression. Whether it's your look, your room, your art, your altar, your journal, or your life, you need to be free to let the inspiration within find a way to take shape in the world. Some ideas will come together beautifully straight away, and some will need to be revised or released completely until you feel satisfied by the expression. Your creativity is the most powerful and healing when it is true. It is not about someone else getting it or reaching some imaginary standard of perfection or making $1 million. The universe has a beautiful plan for your life. When we honestly and creatively express ourselves, we are playing with the universe and helping that beautiful plan to unfold. Some people won't understand the creative process, the importance of working from inner timing rather than external deadlines or demands, or learning to be comfortable in the mess of possibilities before the inspired idea reveals itself to you. They may question your sanity or tell you that you aren't living in the real world. You know that the world created from our hearts is more valuable, beautiful, and real than any world created from fear. Creativity is such a gift. It is worth the price of being different and not always being understood. You are an inspiration. Don't hide your creative fire away. Let it burn bright and light up the world. It says you can do at least 3 things today that you wouldn't normally do. That could be walking backwards for a moment, mixing up your routine, or trying a new exercise or a new way of sitting. It could be approaching your art or your work in a way that feels more expressive of your soul. Enjoy the liberation of breaking out of patterns, for you are taking a step towards the creative emergence of something new. It's about doing something different, right? It's about doing something different. Our shadows can keep us in these patterns. You know what I mean? It really can. And having ourselves, I have things popping up on my computer talking about new things. Sorry, guys. My printer has an update that's available. Hopefully they didn't cut anything out of the message. But it is truly about creating something new. It could be as simple as sitting in a new way, right? But it's about new energy. Maybe when someone else's energy was in the room, you responded a certain way. This is just about responding a different way, right? It's about doing something new and watching it create something different, because you're not the same. And so the experience in and of itself, by default, cannot stay the same. And that is power, right? That is that emperor power, knowing that you can do as you are guided to do and be different if you're guided to do something different. If you're guided to be in different energy, if you're guided to elevate, if you're guided to evolve out of your old self, you know, like a snake sheds its skin and leaves it in the dust. It's still the same snake, but it's a little bit new. It's fresher, it's brighter, it's bigger than before. It's not some huge leap, but it's a minor shift that makes a world of difference. And over time, all of these little shifts end up making a huge difference. That's power. So what does this new mirror, what does this new mirror look like? What does this new mirror look like? This reading's a little longer, guys, than the other ones. I'm sorry, we had a ton of cards. We had a ton of cards. What does this new mirror look like when you pop into this new energy? We got the Hanged One with the Three of Wands reversed. You start to see where you are differently. It's not about the horizon and the future. It's about seeing where you are differently. We have the Moon, Inner Child, and the Elder of Swords. You become so much more fucking wise. You're so much wiser. Because your inner child knows what's good for you. This is truly about looking at where you're at as a beautiful reflection via your intuition and what you're feeling and sensing. When you're being called to rise, when you're being called into higher thought processes, when you're being called to sit and reflect and think on what is around you, and that you're not going to feed into the lower vibrations, right, that are tempting you back. You have quite a literal mirror of your inner process and your outer. We have the Ace of Wands on the Hanged Man. Yeah, you start to be inspired. You start to be inspired in the stillness. The Champion of Wands is the Knight of Wands on that Three of Wands. You're inspired by what is around you, and you become very aware of the parts of your own inner child that need to shift, that need to transform. We have the Death card on the Moon. You know what parts of you are not working for your progress, right? You know what parts of you, by looking at your outer experience and the lower vibrations, by not paying it mind, you know that you have an inner child wound that is pinging at you and wants you to feed it, right? Wants you to feed that shadow, and you're giving yourself time and space to manifest differently based on that higher perspective. We have the Elder of Swords, right? The King of Swords, clarified by the Magician and the World. You manifest completion. You manifest completion of old wounded cycles and patterns when you are able to sit and reflect on the energy in and around your experience and dictate with your presence. Just dictating with your presence and doing as you are guided to do to end or close cycles of manipulating spirit, of manipulating the divine within yourself and choosing that kind of stoicism that comes in alignment with witnessing the divine mirror around you instead as something that you need to reflect on and gain control over from within the self. We have the Champion of Swords, the Knight of Swords on the bottom, and the Ace of Cups on top. Because when you are guided to champion truth and speak truly, it is the Ace of Cups. It is the overflow from spirit. It comes out much more graceful because it's a spirit-driven conversation, not a wounded inner child, shadow-driven conversation. Spirit doesn't obligate. Spirit doesn't feel anxious if it doesn't. Spirit flows. And when you are meant to communicate, Spirit will guide the words to come out of your mouth in whatever way they need to come out of your mouth. And it will be the vibration of love that is needed for whomever is receiving it. Including if you're looking in your own mirror. Maybe you are literally looking in a mirror and you're just guided to say, I love you, you strong ass bitch. I love you. Like, thank you for getting control of this shit. You know, maybe sometimes you're guided to even have those conversations with yourself. It's allowing the conversations to come out because spirit guides them out, not because you feel you have to have them. It is so peaceful. It is so much more peaceful to know that you don't have to say or do anything that is not guided by spirit. You are under no obligation whatsoever to be a lower vibration of yourself. You are very aware of who that version of you was, especially when you were also being highly critical of yourself in destructive ways. I have to do this. I have to do that. I'm not good enough if I don't. I'm not going to succeed and gain the fulfillment if I don't. Now it's just like success and fulfillment are imminent. Because spirit loves me and I'm not wounded. And I'm just going to do as I'm guided. Because that's what's right for me. And I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to worry about anything. It is a beautiful mantra to hold. Spirit's got it. Spirit will guide me when I need to be guided. I'll speak when I'm guided to speak. And it's a beautiful place to be. So if this message, secret code name Miracle Crystal, if I know and have faith that this has helped you. For those of you who were drawn to the secret code name, resonated to it, it helped you in some way. This was their personal reading, right? This was Miracle Crystal's personal reading. And if being able to see it public like this, right, secret code name style helped you, throw a thank you in the comments for them. Thank them for putting their energy out there for you to resonate to and be drawn to if it helped you as well. You know, this is their ripple. It is all for them. And the gratitude, I'm sure they would greatly appreciate it. All right. So we're going to wrap this up. We're going to do secret code name Panic at the Disco next. And I'll see you guys in just a bit. Bye.